yo, so this is the producer room powered by producer culture. And before we get into this one, I just want to say that I've been seeing everybody's comments on YouTube and on Instagram supporting the series. So I really appreciate everybody tuning in. But man, today I got my boy, my best friend Jacob. He is my good friend, but the best friend came from, well, bro, how did the best friend start? I want to know that before we jump into it.
Actually, that's a great question. So yeah, it's honestly a marketing kind of like thing that we came up with. But so originally, my actual best friend is a guy named White Trash Tyler. And at some point, obviously, we can get into. I have like outside of here, scoring and film and stuff, and a lot of those opportunities came through him. Long story short, he was doing an interview, and they asked him where he got his name. And he goes, my best friend Jacob gave me the name White Trash Tyler. And so I thought it was only fitting that I was like, okay, I inspired his name. Well, he just said my name right there. And so my best friend Jacob. And I think it just works in general. Like it has this stickiness where you say, oh, that's produced by my best friend Jacob. And people are like, oh, dope, that's your best friend. And then they're like, oh, it's not my best friend. And then as soon as like that happens, it's like, okay, now they remember my name. So
Yeah, no, that's fine. It definitely stuck with me the first time I came across it. But man, just landed on the latest Vince Staples album with the song Magic.
yeah.
And yeah, we want to know the story behind this. It's such a catchy record, but it's got substance to it as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this all started, man.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess the overarching story, and I'll get into it, but the overarching feeling here, or the thing that I want to say is like it all boils down to persistency and being consistent because to land on this Vince project, even though it might seem like it happened so quick, it was really a long thing. So back in 2016, as I was just talking about my kind of the film stuff I was doing, I was out in LA. I was working with White Trash Tyler. We were doing a lot of filming and stuff like that. And White Trash Tyler actually introduced me to a producer named Nick Audino. And Nick is one of the producers of Twice as Nice. They've done a bunch of records. They did the DJ Snake and DJ Mustard with Justin Bieber, that huge song back then. There's like the Rihanna, I think it's called Sex With Me or whatever. Like they've done a bunch of songs that you've probably heard. But yeah, long story short, he was friends with Tyler and they invited me to come to the studio. And that was the first time I had a chance to meet him. And to be honest with you, this is kind of when I was thinking about transitioning from my film side into the music side. Long story short, I played him some beats. They probably weren't that good. I was a bit kind of on edge and stuff like that. I went home and later that night he texted me, said, send me some more stuff. I sent him some stuff. And in a polite way, he said, this is crap, which to be honest with you was something that I really needed. I think like some of those moments when people are so transparent and honest with you, it can be like that wake up call, like, okay, if I really want to make this happen, here's this guy with these amazing records and stuff like that. I really got to up my game. And so, yeah, so that was around 2016. And to be honest with you, big shouts out to him because, from that day, he's always hit me up for potential opportunities. And on the other side of the coin, I've always been kind of sending him stuff. And so literally since that time, I've been sending him loops and beats and different ideas and, getting better, not only myself, but having these great opportunities through him. And it was roughly the end of last year, just kind of moving into this year, he let me know that they were locked in with Vince Staples. And it was at this point, he was like, okay, send me basically everything you got, like whatever you have on your laptop, which is kind of a scary thing for most producers because we're like, what? I don't want to send this. It's not good enough or whatever. And what ended up happening is one of the sample that I sent that ended up on the Vince record. It was a sample called Details. It was literally from 27 or 2018. And I just decided like, you know what, this has just been literally sitting on my hard drive. Let's get it off. Let's put it into the world. I sent it to him, and this was in a folder of roughly about I think it was like 10 gigabytes. It was close to because I sent stems. I literally sent my hard drive. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
big shouts out to him because he actually went through the majority of it. A couple different options were tried, but at the end of the day, the one that kind of stuck was the Details one. And I remember getting the message from him that night because the way that the song was released, it was actually released first through a Beats campaign, so Beats headphones, which was really dope. It was a great like sync opportunity. It was right around the Super Bowl, and they put a lot of like energy into it. And so I got like a text message, and I'm here in Canada, and he's over in LA. So I was dead asleep in bed, and he hit like, notify anyway. And it came through, and I looked, and he's like, yo, Vince wants to roll with the song. But we need to get like paperwork done pretty much as soon as possible, because in a couple of days they're thinking about rolling out this Beats campaign. And so yeah, I hopped on the phone, and we were able to kind of sort everything out. And literally like 2 or 3 days later, the song came out. And yeah, that's basically at the end of the day, like, the long/short version of the story. But hopefully from that, some producers thinking about like how long it takes for these things to happen. With all of my records, it's been things like this where like you really have to build strong relationships with people, and then you also have to like be committed to those relationships, continue to follow up, check in, send different samples and stuff like that, or beats, see them in the studio, whatever it is, and yeah, kind of go from there.
Yeah, facts. So let's go back to the sample. It was a long time ago, so you might not be able to remember, but do you
Yeah.
remember much of actually making it?
Yeah, it's funny. I do remember. This is one of the times. There's two things that I remember about it. I first started using Cthulhu, or Cthulhu, however you pronounce it. So I ended up opening the project earlier today to just take a quick listen and look at it. But yeah, that was like how I kind of came up with the I guess original kind of foundation or chords and stuff before I added some other bits and pieces. This was also around the time that I had just came to Toronto and started working with like God Bless Eli. I met him and a lot of the guys from Kingsway. And at that time, they were doing a lot of vocal stuff. This is one of the first samples that I can remember where I actually used my own voice as one of the instruments in it. And so there is little parts of the record, if you take a listen, which don't sound anything like I sound today because they're manipulated and auto-tuned and everything. But there's like kind of these singing or vocal one-shots, and that's actually my voice. And it was one of those first times I remember specifically doing that, that I was like, wow, this actually sounds good. And I don't think I have like a good singing voice at all. So I learned that from like Eli and from the Kingsway guys who were like using what they had to make music. And I remember the sample quite well in that sense.
It's really interesting you say that, because like the first few episodes of this series, we spoke to Eli, he got the Drake record, puts his voice in the sample. We just spoke to Ambeza, gets Girls Want Girls,
that
puts
was
his
great.
voice in
I
it.
didn't know that. Yeah.
And it seems like those, even subconsciously, if the producer that's flipping a sample that doesn't know your voice is in it, I guess you can't really replicate someone else's voice. It just adds that unique flavor to a sample instantly, if that makes sense.
It's very unique. I also think a cool thing about it too is like it adds this kind of like it almost lets you know like the bounce that you should have on it to a degree, especially like when Eli and those guys are doing like those gospel records and kind of recreating that sound and stuff. It gives you that rhythm that sometimes if you just have, let's say, a piano playing, it's kind of hard for a producer to be like, okay, which way should I take this? Sometimes when you have those vocal melodies and the way that they're flowing, it's easier for a producer to be like, oh, these are the type of drums that accompany that. Because even like when I'm thinking about the sample that I sent to Nick, and then him and Mustard and those guys put it all together, like that sample, the key didn't change. They didn't speed it up. They didn't do anything. And like maybe part of that was like that kind of like those vocal shots and stuff gave it that, like, you know what I mean, that little bounce and stuff like that. So yeah, vocals are definitely dope. And I got a ton of pedals beside me. I've been using a lot of pedals recently for my vocal production, which is a gem. If you guys are listening, try some vocals and pedals together.
Crazy gems. But so you found out about the record before the Beats campaign. So did you hear the beat at all before that, or did you just hear the record all at once?
Yeah, no, luckily in this situation, Nick was nice enough to let me, obviously had that trust over years, to let me hear the record and stuff before it officially kind of came out. So I knew just how like amazing it was. To be honest with you, out of all the records I've done, I'm probably the most proud of this. The mix sounds great. To be able to work with Nick after so many years was amazing. For Mustard to obviously be one of the main driving factor behind it, and to me be there on a record with him is awesome. And Vince is just one of my favorite artists. So like honestly, it all came together perfectly. Like and now that I've listened to the album in full, sonically, it's just, I don't know. I really, fingers crossed. Like I hope this gets a Grammy or something, because like to me, it's I personally, I know I'm biased here, guys. I think it's his like one of his best bodies of work. Yeah, there's some great. Also, that's another crazy thing too, is like Nami's on it. He's on like 2 or 3 of the records, And something Nami said to me years ago, which was so funny. He's like, it's kind of like we're all in high school right now. This is before like a lot of us really had any placements or anything. And the first placement I ever got, Nami was on that record with me. It was Bryson, or second placement I got, Bryson Tiller record. But Nami said that like we're all kind of think of it as high school. We're all in class together, and slowly we're going to graduate and kind of climb up the scale to the point that like, you know, we're the ones that are like making the sound of the industry. And I always think about like when you see like Jay-Z at the Rock Nation brunch, and you're like, oh, he knew that he went to high school with this person, or he knew this person for X amount of years, and now this person is the head at Sony or whatever. They all have their jobs, but they know each other from this early stage. It's cool to see Nami and Mina and all these producers that like I'm friends with now, because 4 or 5 years ago, like I was like, this, you guys sound amazing. They were saying the same thing about me. And to think like we're now on the same records, I'm really excited to like hopefully be in the position where we can executive produce or like do a whole full project with the next Vince or the next artist that's up and coming.
I always like to ask, and I really like to get into the headspace of that first listen of the record. So can you like break down like where you was, like how do you kind of prepare yourself for that first listen?
Yeah, so shout out to my fiance, because she's my number one support. She's always so excited when like I get these calls and stuff like that. But yeah, I just remember putting it, because it was late. It was probably like midnight or so my time. So I literally grabbed my headphones, I threw them on, and I just took a listen. And I think I was just standing out either in the kitchen or in my bedroom. And I just soaked it in. And again, this is one of those times. Another thing I really realized is like, to your point of listening to the record, and even on release day listening, I can't tell you how many times I busted my ass to get these type of opportunities and stuff. Then like, you know, the album comes out and I don't even listen for 2 days because I'm like so busy still like trying to get samples to hear or whatever. And I realized like, oh no, I need to slow down. I need to soak in these moments, because these moments actually, they don't happen that often. And so you gotta take all the wins, whether they're big or small, and just let them soak in. So yeah, I ran that record back like 2 or 3 times. I was jumping around, like I felt like I wanted to start crip walking, like you know what I mean? So yeah, the record was amazing, and again, super happy to be a part of the entire body of work, and hope I can get some more in, because yeah, Vince knows what's up.
What was your reaction when you saw the video for the first time?
Oh yeah, that was another thing too. Is like, because like even the Beats campaign, to be honest with you, was super exciting. Like I've done I've had like quite a few different sync opportunities. I did the music for like Kylie Jenner's, both of her birth videos and stuff like that. So I've had a chance to do some pretty big campaigns and stuff like that. But the Beats one in particular was like, it just kind of hit me this other way, because it came from, usually the other stuff, it's usually me composing and making something new for that campaign or that thing. But this was actually like my music that I was really proud of, that got synced in this huge campaign, and you know, was seen all over the world, especially even before the video dropped. So that was really cool to see. But then also to see the music video, I think with the creative, Vince always comes with amazing creative and stuff like that. And it was cool to see him like floating through the party scene. And one of the coolest experiences for me too, that I've been like wanting my whole life, is to make music that, you know, I'm just riding down the street, I hear somebody listening to it, turn on the radio. And actually again happened. Me and my fiance were coming back from my grandmother's. We just had the radio on, and boom, here's, you know, the DJ cuts in Magic, and I'm just like, damn, it's like it's on the Heat, it's on, you know what I mean? They're playing it out in LA. It's like it's getting radio play and stuff like that. That to me was one of those moments too, where I'm like, damn, I just felt so like proud and stuff like that. And again, like you got to really take all those wins and just let them kind of soak in, remember them, because there is times when making music can be difficult. Can be stressful, and you can be down on yourself too. And I think that it's good to counter and balance that out by those moments and stuff. So whoever's out there listening to this, make sure you count all those wins and stuff like that. Write them down in a notepad, whatever. And on those days you feel like maybe giving up or whatever it might be, like take a look at that and remember like why you're here and why you do it.
Yeah, facts. Well, you heard it here, 10 gigabytes worth of stuff to get here. But man, congratulations on the record. Appreciate you dropping all these gems and taking the time to speak with us. Yeah, so thanks a lot.
Listen, can I say one thing to you, man? Because you got the flowers behind you. I'd love to give you your flowers, because you've just been, you know, you've been killing it. I think the idea that you're giving chance for producers to just have a bigger voice in the music community as a whole, but in the producer community is amazing. Keep up the great work that you're doing, also the work that you're doing with producer culture and stuff. I always am like saving the little gems and bits and pieces from these interviews that I see on the Instagram and stuff too. So keep up the great work. Big support over here. I'm rooting for you guys. So.
Man, thank you so much. But yeah, as you said, this is the producer room, powered by producer culture. My best friend Jacob in the building, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.